What's going on, Thompson'S Kennels? I'm gonna shoot this video because I've been getting a lot of emails and text messages about this topic. I don't know. People send me photographs of their dogs. They don't have papers on their animals, and they'll ask me like, "What is this? What does this look like to you? Or what do you think this is?" Look, I tell people, if you got a rescue dog and you don't have documentation on it, you didn't purchase it from a reputable breeder, it's a mutt. Simple as that. People say the word mutt and they feel like, oh, it's something less of a dog. No, a mutt is a mutt. A mutt is a dog that you just don't know the heritage on. You found it, or somebody gave it to you, or whatever. It's a mutt. You can't prove genetically what it is. And you couldn't prove it to a point where there would be a registry company that would give you documentation to breed it. Like, there's some weird registries that just give out papers on dogs, but they do it to help people out who live in certain living situations, where if the apartment complex said, oh, that looks like a pit bull and we don't allow pit bulls to live here, you can send off to these certain registries and they'll say your dog is from Pluto or whatever, so you can get your dog in your apartment and stuff. But having a mutt, there's nothing wrong with having a mutt. If it's a pet, it's a pet. Let it be a pet. Everything ain't breeding quality. And a lot of people assume because, oh, this looks like this and I could pass this off for this, that I have a license to breed this animal. And that's wrong. Now, if you're planning on breeding the dog and you're going to keep all of the puppies and do your thing, more power to you. But when you breed those dogs, you need to be 100% honest about what you're doing. You don't need to lie to people and pass shit off to people and make it seem like you got this, and that's not right. Be 100 about what you're doing. If it's a mutt and you ain't got papers, you need to just be 100% honest about that. Because in 2019, in the world of the internet and everything, a lot of things have changed. And people assume that there's a ton of money in dog breeding, or they assume it's a ton of money in this business in general. And I told you guys for years, it's really not. You're never going to be able to live and pay all your bills and live off of dogs. If you have that in your brain that that's what's going to transpire, you need to just get it out. Think of something different. But not to get too far off topic, there's nothing wrong with having a pet. You know what I mean? If it looks like a bully or if it looks like a pit bull or whatever, let it look like that. But if you can't prove it, and there's really no way to prove it, because you can pay for the little DNA test, but you're doing that for your own personal satisfaction. Just because you send off one of those little DNA kits, there's no registry that's going to say, oh, we're going to take that for word and give you papers on this animal, and now you got an established dog. It doesn't work like that. Either you bought the dog from an established, reputable breeder who has the documentation on his animals and gave it to you when you purchased it. Same way as if a car. If everybody needs a vehicle to get to point A to point B, but there's some people who like Mercedes-Benz. There's some people who like 2 or 3 of your dunks. That's a low-key one for Kendrick. But there's people who like certain brands of cars because that's their preference. That's what they are enthusiasts for. So people who are really into dogs go to reputable breeders. They're going to spend that money and purchase a reputable animal with papers. And if they do decide to breed, it's never an issue because they have the documentation to do that. So that's the lane we're in. There's no way to spend good money behind bad money in the dog game. Now, you got a lot of people up here who will talk and say, oh, well, they hang papers. Some people, that's a proven fact. We all know that shit. That is not nothing new to these streets. There was plenty of dog men throughout history that hung papers and did X, Y, and Z. But your job as a buyer is to do the homework on the animal that you're purchasing. Any dog that I purchased and put on my yard, I can call and cross-reference these dogs. Not just the fact that I seen the parents and the grandparents. I can call the breeder who that breeder got it from and trace where these dogs came from. I can call Tom Garner. I can contact Old Glory Kennels. I can call Ronald Boyles. I can cross-reference all of my dogs and all of my dogs' lineage. But that was the homework that I did before the purchase. You get what I'm saying? You don't buy the dog and then try to do research on the dog. Do the research on the animal before you purchase it. Don't take for granted that the breeder that you're purchasing the dog from is keeping it 100 with you. He may show you a family tree of dogs, but you need to go back in the lineage and say, well, you got this dog. Where did that dog come from? Can I contact that breeder and he's going to confirm what you're saying? You got to do your homework. Same way like purchasing a car, like I said. You want what do they do? Carfax reports on cars so you don't purchase a lemon? Same thing with dogs. Cross-reference what you're spending a good amount of money on an animal, especially with American Pitbull Terriers. You're spending a good amount of money for a dog that's going to live for a long time. This dog is not hindered with a lot of health issues. So you're talking about this is a decade, 12, 15-year investment. You need to think about it like that. If you don't want to have a headache and you don't want to deal with fuckery, do your research. Don't believe because this guy said this, that, and the third, and he may have papers in his hand. But you'll notice when somebody's bullshitting you when you say, well, the foundation dogs that you purchased, where did you get them from? And it'll usually say it on your documentation and pedigree. You can contact a lot of these breeders. A lot of these guys are still alive. You can contact a lot of these breeders and say, hey, did you produce such and such and such? Did it come off of such and such and such? Can you show me, send me some pictures of the stick or the breeding? Because before the internet, we used to take pictures, actual photographs of dogs stuck together. And we kept it in our paperwork as documentation. Now, with a lot of registries, like I know A.P.B.T, I got to send them pictures, photographs, everything. And they already have all my dogs profiled. I got some dogs DNA profiled. I haven't done all of them yet, but a lot of them are getting DNA profiled just for extra records. But this is the stuff that I'll do as a reputable breeder because I don't want any question marks about what I'm doing. And like I said, my lineage can be traced. So you want to always think along those lines, especially when you're investing your money on an animal that you plan to be part of your family or part of your program for the upcoming years. Like I said, I do not mess with all registries. I don't like one more than the other. Like, they all make their money, but the registry is only good as the customer that's registering the dogs with the registry company. If I was hanging papers and doing fuck shit, the registry company is nothing. But you got to deal with reputable breeders. Do your research. Like I said, and if you're dealing with a reputable breeder, because a lot of my customers and family and friends who deal with me, they know what time it is. You can call these people and ask if that dog came from that dog, and you don't have to ask me. And then my lineage has spread out so far now over the years. God's been good to me that you can see brothers, siblings, all this stuff. Everybody who's got my blood and is running it, you can see how these dogs are maturing, and you can chase the word that I've been screaming to you guys for years, which is consistency. And that's what you're looking for. Consistency in the dogs, consistency in the program. But like I said, you as the buyer, the onus is on you to do the research on the animal you're purchasing. Like I said, paper's been hung throughout generations and generations. But you can find somebody who's been hanging papers. It's not hard to. Because the minute you start fact-checking shit and calling people and calling breeders that those dogs supposedly came from, and the main breeder starts telling you, I never heard of that. I never did that breeding. This was never off of that litter. I don't remember that. Then you can start saying, okay, there's something going on here. But yet again, the onus is on you to do your research. And I made a video about this years ago. A lot of y'all, what y'all will do is y'all don't have the funds. And it's hard out here. Like I say all the time, I get up and bust my ass every day. But a lot of y'all don't have the money and don't have the funds. So what y'all do is y'all go to somebody's yard and you'll see the hounds that you really like and want. And that man may throw a number at you and you'll be like, well, I don't really have that, blase, blase, blah. But then you'll find a motherfucker peddling dogs for a quarter of the price of the breeder that you liked. And then you'll purchase his dog from them. And that's where, save your money and purchase what you want. Save yourself a lot of headache and strife in this dog game by coming in the game with the dogs that you're looking for. If you like the dog or you like this offspring, save your money. Rome wasn't built in a day. I didn't start this overnight. This was years and years. I used to save money, put money to a side for certain animals and breedings that I was interested in, that I knew this is stuff that I want on my yard. I saved my money and I purchased it. And I didn't have to go through a lot of headache and strife. But that's the game that we in. People want to spend good money behind bad money and then figure out 5 years later that you done fucked yourself over. And this with this dog game ain't nothing quick, easy, none of that. Get that shit right out your head. It's real. Every breeding you do, you're talking, hold on, we got a plane going over. Every breeding that you do, as me as a breeder, you're talking a 3-year investment for every breeding I do. Because that's how long it takes to raise these dogs up, the puppies up, to see what they're about, to see if they meet breeding criteria through field trials, all types of high-level activity work to see if they qualify to be bred. So that's the time that you're talking. We're talking years, man. I've got youngins on my yard that's years old, that's a couple of years old, but this is all a part of a process of going through dogs, seeing who qualifies to be bred, and going from there. None of this happens overnight. That's why I said people are constantly switching hounds and trying to follow what the next person is doing. Focus on your program and execute your dogs and your program to the quality that you want. Not what nobody else want or thinking what's going to be a fad. Stick to your script. Purchase the correct dogs that represent what you want on your yard and build off of that. That is probably the best advice that I could give you guys. I don't really care to do a lot of talking videos too much because I don't like to reiterate and repeat myself. But like I said, you can't spend good money behind bad money. You're wasting your time. You're wasting a lot of dogs that could have been in situations where they'd have been prosperous. You're running on a treadmill and you're not going anywhere. So take your time, do your research, and fact check a lot of these breeders. Fact check them. If they got papers, call the registry company. How long has he been registering dogs with you? Find out the ins and outs, because everybody wants to take a shortcut. Nobody don't want to spend that startup money to do something. Very few people. Everybody want nickel and dime, and then when after they nickel and dime, they want to go ahead and get $2,000 and $3,000 a dog, but won't tell you that they didn't pay next to nothing or they found their dogs in the wilderness. They won't tell you that story, but they want that money. So fact check these breeders and spend your money wisely. Do your research. Don't rush to purchase nothing. Don't let these guys put you in a position where I got 5 or 6 people that's going to buy this dog if you don't jump on it and blase, blase, blah. Nah, let me do my research. If the dog is still there, I'll come back and do it and purchase the dog. But if you can't give me enough time to research what you got going on, that's not a person you should spend your money with. And I'm just being honest with you. And I hope this helps out a lot of people. And this started off on mutts. Same thing. If you got a mutt, enjoy your mutt. Don't let people down you because it's a mutt. You don't have to make up a story or make up a bunch of lies and pedigrees to make your mutt something that it ain't. It's a pet. It ain't nothing wrong with having pets. You don't have to make up these stories and lie and do all this other whole shit. Enjoy your animals. If it's a pet, it's a pet. It's not a breeding quality animal. It's just a pet. That's my friend Benji. Me and him go on walks and play fetch. When did it become wrong to have a pet? But don't get YouTube tunnel vision and Facebook and IG and all this other bullshit that you see going out here in these streets. Don't get tunnel vision like that. Because everybody's trying to make $1 and didn't even spend $1 to start what they was doing. Do your research. Yet again, I cannot stress that enough. If you're purchasing an animal, these dogs live a long time. Go ahead, barring a yard accident or shit like that, but genetically, if you have the right setup and the right capabilities of raising a dog, they live a very long time. So it's a very long investment. Don't do it off the spur of the moment. Do your research and enjoy your animals. Y'all have a blessed one.